Shalom, all praise to Yahawashi, Bashim Makakadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders, great millstone, rule one, Shalom to all the brothers doing the work, sharing truth. Got this article on the Daily Star. Like, the Daily Star likes to kind of go into, talking about the chariots of Israel, which, are referred to as UFOs, you know, by the people in this world, man. It's kind of had a few articles they've gone into, but this one kind of had to. I found it interesting because it shows how what you call it? It shows the mindset that Esau's in, and essentially how they're looking. They, it's. I mean, it's been obvious that Esau's been building a mindset of combating Yahawashi when he makes his return, with the thousands of heaven, with the chariots of Yahweh Shem Yahshai. So, as such, he's him militarily funding it isn't isn't a mystery really. But oh shit, isn't a mystery. But then it's evidence there that Esau knows how Yahushua is going to make his return, and how Yahushua is going to make his return, and he's looking to do war, which that's all in prophecy, which I'll go into, and essentially is he's not going to be able to keep up, man. He's going to be outclassed, because that's evident already. Whenever you get these UFO sightings, that's why it's a mystery. Because as far as Esau goes, his technology is not able to keep up. But I'll get into it. Okay. So it says U.S. military paid scientists to build physics-bending weapon for wars with UFOs. Now, as far as whatever he's building, I don't really know. Like, it don't really. Well, it's I don't know. It's some of Esau's that's falsely so-called science. But more or less, it seems like his well, let me get into it. So, okay, it says the U.S. Department of Defense has poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into the development of a space-time modification weapon that will ensure battlefield supremacy by bending the laws of physics. While the concept might seem like something dreamed up by tinfoil-hatted conspiracy theorists, the U.S. military has a long history of dabbling in research that sounds like science fiction. Yeah, there was something, I can't even remember what I was watching. Oh yeah. I was watching YouTube video one guy was doing on what was it called? Like psychics, fake psychics. And he was saying like, yeah, the US military is doing research into that for I think like a decade or at least like half a decade, so a good amount of years. Because why Esau's looking for any channels by which, to secure himself. And he's got a history of dabbling into these different channels of witchcraft as well. That's something that is common around among Esau, man. That's part of his so-called culture, man, where they'll get into that witchcraft, especially his women, man. So the US man, okay. So the radar invisible F-117A Nighthawk and his flying wing cousin, the B-2 Spirit, still look like something from Star Wars film, despite both designs being around 40 years old. This new initiative, that paragraph has got nothing to do with the rest. This new initiative is based on the work of controversial scientist Dr. Salvatore Pais. Pais claims that artificially generated high-energy electromagnetic fields can manipulate the quantum vacuum that underlies the entire universe. If Pais is correct, a craft surrounded by an electromagnetic force field of this kind could move through air or water with virtually no resistance. Basically, sounds like he's trying to come up with some, carnal means of breaking down, how the chariots move. Well, it says it can move with virtually no resistance. This will allow incredible acceleration and produce a new kind of aircraft that, according to the enigmatic Dr. Pies, would be able to engineer the fabric of our reality at the most fundamental level. Yeah, which, it sounds like he's trying to get in on the level of the chariots, man. Because when you deal with the chariots, it's they can move phase between, man, this dimension and the fourth dimension as well. Because that's something that Esau desires to do. But that's why you have when you see chariots, they'll just come, they'll fade in, then bang, you'll just see them, they'll move, they'll do their thing, and they'll just phase off. That's how the chariots of Yahawashi can be. They've all these limits that all this guy's trying to break down. It can move without resistance. The chariots can move like at levels of speed Esau and maneuverability Esau can't deal with. Because okay, Ezekiel 1 so it says, let's start 16. So it says, the appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, and they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. So that image, Esau will have of UFOs will be like one ring surrounded by another ring with the lights. And as well, I don't think it's in this chapter, maybe it is, where it describes the different colors. Okay. Oh yeah, and I saw the color of amber. Maybe it was. Wait. Or maybe not. I think there might be a different chapter. Okay, let me go to it. So let me go to what else. Was that color of the beryl, appearance and the work was the will. So it says, when they went upon their four sides, and they turned not when they went. As for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and the rings were full of eyes round about them four. Like the lights, because that's something as well. When you go to was it Exodus? It says you had the cloud by day, the pillar of fire by night, because why are them lights leading the way, man? So it says what round about them is four. Wait, did I read that one? Yeah, and the rings were full of eyes round about them four, and when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them, and when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up. So the angels moved wherever the chariots went, because they were in the chariots, so they were just moving. They were in the cockpit, so to speak. So it says, whithersoever the spirit was to go, they went. Thither was their spirit to go, and their wheels were lifted up over against them, and the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. So yeah, anywhere they wanted to go, they can go. So they ain't got the same. You look at Esau's fighter jets. Well, even you can just look at the whole concept of like dogfighting, because that's how Esau's. That's basically how the combat goes, because they have to fly straight. They can only turn and maneuver and whatever. But it's like they're still going to fly straight. They ain't just going to be like flying straight and then just drop back and flip round and do all kinds of things. If planes do that, they'll get broken and ripped to shreds. So it's like Esau's, he's the Lord's basically put him on a level to have flying machines. But then it's not on the level of the chariots. He's got basically what's been given up to him to the level where he can fulfill, the prophecies he needs to do. Because I'm going to get into that as well. He needs to basically war against Yahawashi when Yahawashi makes his return and get destroyed. And as well, like Revelation 9, going into World War 1, and even multitude of other things that require airplane, and setting his nest among the stars, all the what do they call it, man? It's not ICBM, well, it's just basically just rockets, man. Rocket technology to get into the heavens, man. These things are needed for why it comes down to prophecy. So it says spirit. So 21, and when those went, these went, and when those stood, these stood, and when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them. For the spirit of the living creature was on the wheels. Yeah. So anywhere they were moving, it was they can move, man. And it's that's the thing, if you've seen chariots, so seen the chariots a fair few times. Hey, the way they move is different, and they'll just be there stationary and then just zip, or they'll just be moving and you just catch them moving all kinds of ways where you're just like, nah, there's no way that a plane can just be moving like that, or be at heights where you're just like, nah, planes can't be in them heights. And you see just like all kinds of chariots. Nah, it's mad. It's mad. It's the way they run. That's why this guy's getting into this. Talking about a force field quantum vac, because he's basically trying to quantify like what the chariots do, man. Because that's the thing is he's got records. He's seen what the chariots do. That's why, because even it says, I'll go down. It says science writer Brett Tingley argues that so-called Pi's effect has no scientific basis in reality, and added that the patterns related to it were filled with pseudo-scientific jargon. But it's pseudo-scientific jargon that has convinced at least some U.S. defense chiefs. Pi's has been handed over 500 grand to dollars, I guess, yeah, to research the bizarre concept. So this guy, that shows, this is how eager Esau is, because this guy could be talking out of his ass. He could be waffling about how he's gonna go about doing it, but he's basically trying to get Esau on the level of the chariots, which ain't gonna happen anyway. But that's what they're desiring. That's why they'll willing to chuck a cheeky $500,000, which ain't really no money anyway. Like you see them, the defense funding is in tens to hundreds of billions. So what's a cheeky $500,000 just to see what cheeky $500,000 just to see if this guy can produce anything. But that's the thing is why, because I'll get into it. Second Ezra. No, it's up. Okay. Second Ezra 13. Verse 3. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, and when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Yeah, and those thousands of heaven, that's talking about them chariots, man. Talking about them chariots, because that's how Yahawashi is gonna. I can get it quick. What was it? Acts 1. Why stand ye gazing up? Verse 10. Oh, yeah. Acts 1 and 10. And while they looked steadfastly towards heaven as he went, behold, two men stood by them in white apparel, which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up into heaven? The same Yahawashi which is taken from you into heaven shall so come in like manner as you've seen him go into heaven. So yeah, just as Yahawashi was taken up in a cloud in verse 9, then what? That's how he's going to return, in clouds. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. In Revelation 1, I believe. So that's how Yahawashi is looking. It's documented. That's how Yahawashi is going to make his return, and that's why these chariot sightings have been intensifying. Esau's been declassifying certain intel about these things, certain signs, and it's become clear that it's being taken seriously by the U.S. government. Because before, you go back like 10, 15 years, people go, oh, UFOs, it's just BS, it's blah blah blah. That's when, but now it's on a thing, especially because with the smartphones coming out, with the internet, getting on a level where anyone can record shit and put online, it's impossible to hide these things. Anytime you see like, okay, there'll be sightings, you might have 5, 6, 50, 100 different people filming like chariots when it's a bait one. So then, as such, Esau's trying to get ahead of the game. Nah, which trembled that was seen on it. Okay. And it says what, verse 4, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it faileth the fire. Yeah, them lasers from the chariots, man. That's gonna be part of how America's gonna go down, man. Them lasers are gonna be doing work, just as the missiles are gonna be doing work. And that's something as well. Esau's putting these movies, not the day the earth is still, what's it called? War of the Worlds. And it says what, and after this I behold, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven, to subdue the man that came out of the sea. Yeah, so that's all these, all the men of the world basically trying to come and do war, because it's in Revelation as well. What is it? It's what? Nah. Nah. I can't even remember the wording. What was it? Michael and his angels. Maybe it's 20. I think it is, actually. Oh, it's 12. Okay. Just need to scroll down a bit. What's it? Revelation 12 and 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. Yeah. So the Michael and his angels. That's hey, the chariots. The army that's Yahawashi is gonna come with. They're gonna do war against what, the dragon, Esau's power structure, and his his angels, man. His F-22s, F-16s. His all these different what they mentioned, the B, they just had the name of his planes, fighter planes and bombers. These things, all these different all this technology Esau's developed, he's gonna go to war against Yahawashi. And this is what, and prevailed not. So that's the thing, and that's the thing is Esau's trying to change it up, because why? That's why he's been pushing out the vibration so hard, really through his media, through Hollywood, man, trying to get that energy of, okay, yeah, the aliens come and they just get spanked. Just the and it's always the U.S. Army. The U.S. Army is just so great and so grand. They band together. They get blasted the first time, but then just the sheer greatness of America allows them to succeed. But no, it's plain. It says what? And prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And then go back in 2nd Esdras 13. It says what, verse 6. But I beheld, 2nd Esdras 13 and 6. But I beheld, and lo, and he had graved himself a great mountain, and flew up upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fright. Yeah, these men were afraid, and they're still gonna combat, come against Yahawashi, because they're gonna see. That's the thing is Esau's trying to push that essentially that American kind of, I don't know, justice, liberty, whatever BS, trying to bring some kind of energy so that he can feel like he can find some form of victory when Yahawashi makes you return. But it's impossible. It's been set. These men are gonna see it. They're gonna see it and like, yo, how are we gonna come against that? Said what man wax with the were waxed strong with the thousands of heaven, man. You can have all kinds of chariots. And then what? Yahawashi chariot, what does it say? Um, but I beheld and lo, and he wait. I beheld and lo, he graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. Yes, like a great mountain. But I would have seen the region or place whereat the hill was graven, and I could not. Yeah, the chariot's so hench. It's on such a scale that it's like you can't even see where it ends. That's going to be the scale of it, and that's what these men are trying to come against. This is the sheer futility. But these are the things. These are the prophecies, and that's the joke. Is the elites not have these things deciphered, and are trying to work against it, which is the sheer tomfoolery. It says, but okay. So and after this, I beheld, and lo, all they which shall gather together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet thus fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude, which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude, nothing was but to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Yeah, that's the level of the absolute annihilation that Esau, any whatever Esau's lengths he's going any channels he's trying to gain power through, by which to achieve victory against Yahawashi, it's gonna fail. Why? Because the word's gone out. The word's gone out. The word of Yahweh Yahawashi has gone out, and it's set. Everything's been set. These things have been predestinated since before the world was made. Any form, any manner of trying to come against that, it's pure folly, man. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Yahawashi Yahawashi.